Hey everyone, I am Tom Ward, the new intern at Calvary. I regret that I haven't been able to meet so many of you because of COVID, but I decided to just put myself out there and talk to you about a very non-controversial topic, politics, and how I think Christians should vote in the upcoming election. So let's just jump right in. One of the candidates running for president this year said that if you voted for him, he would, quote, give Christians power like you wouldn't believe, end quote. It doesn't really matter which candidate it was. It could have been any of them. Because that's the promise all politicians make, isn't it? That if you vote for me, you get power. You get what you want if I'm in the White House. So what's interesting about that approach, for Christians at least, is that we already had power. I think we're often blind to the authority and the power that we have as followers of Jesus. Scriptures remind us of this over and over and over again, as early as Genesis 3, right? That when we participate in sin, when we eat of the fruit, when we try and take power for ourselves, we actually become less human. We become less in the image of God. One theologian I really like wrote of the election in 2016, quote, we are about to witness firsthand what happens when the established church compromises its moral authority and sells out the marginalized, the refugee, immigrants, religious and ethnic minorities, sexual assault survivors, the sick and those with disabilities, the LGBTQ people, for the promise of power. It isn't going to be pretty, end quote. The last 4 years really haven't been pretty in our country, and regardless of who wins on Tuesday, it doesn't look like the next 4 years will be all that pretty either. And this is because so often Christians throw away their moral authority for power. But we don't need promises of power. According to Jesus, we already have it. We have the promise that we will be a witness to the ends of the earth. And that's from Jesus, not from any politician. So do I think it's important to engage politics? Absolutely. But how do I think a Christian should vote? I think with the ballot held loosely in one hand and Jesus held really tightly in the other. Because the future of Christianity in America depends infinitely more on who occupies your heart than on who occupies the White House. Shane Claiborne, an activist and Christian theologian, writes, trying to mix Christianity with a certain political party is sort of like mixing ice cream with horse manure. It doesn't really harm the manure, but it sure messes up the ice cream. And I think he's probably right. When we get too tied to party affiliations, we become blind to the other. And we're not supposed to fear the other. We're not supposed to fear people who aren't like us. That's not how Jesus works. There's no us and them with Jesus. There's only us. A.J. Swoboda writes, we must begin with a simple truth. The gospel is political. Into the old creation, Jesus Christ descends that he might establish a new creation. In short, one might say Jesus came to make creation great again. And that's going to keep on happening regardless of who wins an election. Jesus promises us that. So whoever wins, God upholds all of us, and he's still in control, and his ways will still come to pass, and the kingdom will still come, and Jesus will continue to make creation great again, regardless of who wins. It's why this November, I'm not really worried we're going to end up with the wrong candidate. I'm worried that Christians are going to end up with the wrong gospel. Because we're not holding our ballots loosely. And we're becoming so tied to our party affiliations that we are blind to what God is doing right in front of us. So I think there's 5 things that every Christian should do on election day and on the 4 years following it, no matter who wins. Number 1, we should listen. We should really, really listen. Try our hardest to understand the other side. Try our hardest to understand how our own viewpoints might make us blind or privileged to what's happening with other people. try not to flatten other people with our beliefs. Instead, just listen to them. Really listen. 2, we can check ourselves. We can figure out if we're wearing our political colors or if we're wearing the clothing of Christ. 3, we can end the illusion once and for all that we can somehow separate ourselves from our neighbor's hurts. If one of us is hurting, then all of us are hurting. There is no them and us with Jesus, only us. 4, we can avoid what I call Chicken Little theology, as if the sky is falling and everything is going to hell in a handbasket. I know that 2020 has been a lot, but the sky isn't falling. God is still in control. It's going to be okay. We can be voices of unrelenting hope and forgiveness and love instead of cynicism and division and panic as if the sky was falling. Instead, be a voice of hope for 4 years. And lastly, in 5, we can stand in the gap. We can be peacemakers. We can build bridges where people want to build walls. Because love always builds a bridge. It doesn't build walls. And we should love like never before in the next 4 years, regardless of who wins. So that's how I think we should vote, with a ballot loosely and Jesus held pretty tightly. I look forward to meeting you all in the coming months and wish you all the best.